3 cousins, Regina, Cassie, and Alyssa.
Then again, who knows? Maybe she got into a single-car accident. Her car ended up in a ditch. She gets out the car, possibly has a concussion, wanders into a wooded area, assuming it's near the car, and maybe some psycho saw the event unfold and took advantage of the situation, started following her into the woods, and sadly, this is the end result. But who knows, Maybe she was disoriented. This could be the result of a medical condition. She got disoriented, ran into a ditch, and went into the woods. In her disorientated state, she got out, got lost in the woods, and died. Or perhaps they just dropped the fucking ball. Had the police department taken this case more seriously, she might still be alive, clearly. At the least, other professionals say they should have did a 5-mile grid search. You know what I mean? But for the most part, this case ain't over. It just switched over to homicide and murder. And there's no statute of limitation on murder, homicide in the state of Texas. Just keep that in mind. They let that body rot. They left it out there long enough so it can decompose and destroy, allegedly, any type of evidence to help solve this case.
Lauren has 3 children and has been married twice. She was in the process of getting a divorce at the time of her disappearance. She says she is separated on her Facebook page.
Lauren went to Palestine High School in Palestine, Texas. She lives in Carthage, Texas, which is about 90 miles west from where she grew up in Palestine.
She had no workplaces to show on her Facebook page, but previous posts indicated she worked in a nursing home at one time.
Her parents lived 200 miles away in Fort Worth, Texas.
Now let's get into the timeline. Lauren's last post on her personal Facebook page was December 16th, 2018. She posted, "Merry Christmas." This was about 3 weeks before she went missing.
January 4th, 2019. KSLA News reports Beckville's flood stage for the Sabine River was at 26 feet.
And the current stage was 27.3 feet. So the area where Lauren's car was located had heavy rain prior to her disappearance.
January 10th, 2019, a Thursday, the day of her disappearance. Prior to her phone call to her mother and 911, according to CBS 19 News, Lauren was hanging out with a group of friends on a property in Panola County.
Sheriff Lake also told CBS 19 News that there was horseplay between Lauren's vehicle and another vehicle.
And according to Bring Lauren Thompson official Facebook page, at least 3 other persons were confirmed to have been with Lauren minutes before she ran off into the woods. However, due to multiple discrepancies in the various witness statements, it remains unclear as to what actually transpired that afternoon.
An unofficial report stated it was determined a male was in the car with Lauren. 2 females were in the other car. The older male lived close by. He died of an illness in May 2019.
And here's the report of what occurred that day from the Bring Lauren Thompson official Facebook page.
At 1:53 p.m., Lauren called her mother, Tori Colvin. According to Tori, her daughter seemed a bit distressed and wanted to speak with her children, whom they were caring for at the time. However, they weren't around to talk at that moment.
The 2 spoke for approximately 7 minutes. Tori stated that her daughter was apologetic to her and her father for past decisions. Tori also remembers Lauren telling her mother how she wished she was as strong as her. Tori offered Lauren some encouragement as they continued to speak.
Tori also reported that Lauren seemed to be arguing with someone who could be heard telling Lauren that she didn't need to be calling her kids right now. According to Tori, Lauren also stated that if she ever got out of this, she was never doing drugs again.
Tori told her daughter that if she was in some sort of trouble, she should call the local police right away. After asking her mother to tell her father that she loved him and was sorry, Lauren ended her call with her mother at 2:00 p.m.
Tori recalls that, though clearly anxious, Lauren was coherent and did not seem to be in any immediate danger, and her tone was nothing like the clear terror that she would later hear when authorities allowed her and Lauren's father, G.W. Colvin, to hear the 911 call.
8 minutes after ending the call with her mother, Lauren called 911. The 911 call lasted approximately 21 minutes before it abruptly ended as Lauren was heard pleading with unknown persons. Despite intense efforts of Panola County dispatches to reestablish contact with Lauren, they were unsuccessful, and approximately 20 minutes later, the phone sent out the last ping before apparently losing power.
Using cell phone tower pings, dispatchers were able to locate a general area of where Lauren was calling from. Officers dispatched to Beckville found her vehicle slightly off the roadway of an oil gas company lease road off of CR 267. This is accessed via FM 1794 west of Rock Hill.
And that concludes the official Bring Lauren Thompson Facebook page post on what occurred that day. As we piece the rest of the timeline together, we use news articles.
According to Panola County Sheriff Kevin Lake, she indicated she wasn't sure where she was. She wasn't familiar with the area, obviously in distress in the 911 call.
He continues, she thought someone was chasing her. She had not observed anybody, but she felt somebody was with her. She was scared. We could hear background noise, and it was clear she was running.
It was also reported while the 911 operator still had Lauren on the phone, Officers were also able to get in touch with people Lauren said she was with earlier in the day.
Sheriff Lake said one person she was with had been in the area reportedly fishing. The friend had been in the car with Lauren when he said she ran off the road.
He said he then told her he was going to walk to his house to get a vehicle to get them out of the mud, but then she took off running into the woods.
They located her vehicle within a few minutes. It was stuck in the mud in a ditch on the side of the road.
The 911 call lasted 20 minutes and has not been released to the public. However, Lauren's parents have listened to the call.
A web sleuth comment from Jexpar stated, "I am an emergency dispatcher, so I know how the 911 system and pinging phones work. Once the phone died, they would have had to call the phone company to get a location, but they would have been given the same location as their equipment showed when her phone died, as the phone had to be powered on."
Sheriff Lake said, an initial search was conducted in the area on foot and also using off-road vehicles. 2 canine teams and a drone were later brought in along with law enforcement remaining in the area overnight.
Temperatures were in the low 40s that night and 51 degrees as a high in the day. As we stated, the area had experienced heavy rains and flooding.
Investigators believe Lauren may have actually been run off the road as opposed to accidentally driving into the ditch. They found paint transfer on her car and on another vehicle.
Another web sleuth comment, "I did drive past where her car was found just to get an idea of the terrain. It's very hilly and wooded and wet because of all the rain we've had lately. But only on that side of the intersection there are houses and more open spaces close by in other directions that would seem to be better choices if you were trying to get away from someone."
Another comment, in the woods in East Texas, you have lots of briars and rattan vines, not to mention shrubs. Some parts are impenetrable. On the other side of the road, west, there was a large pasture, very large, with lots of open areas, barns, and houses.
The comment continues, "To the south, it was less than 1/4 mile to the farm-to-market road, which was an open area with lots of traffic and houses to go to. Going north would have been difficult because this is where the woods got thick and brush would be, and beyond that, about 5 miles would be the Sabine River, which was very flooded."
January 11th, the next day. The next morning, 3 hours away in Fort Worth, Texas, Lauren's mother, Tori, awoke to missed calls from the sheriff's office.
She says, "Me and my husband called them back and they asked if we had heard from Lauren. I said no. They said they'd gotten a 911 call the day before and she was missing."
Meanwhile, organized search teams were working to find Lauren. Day 2 began with a grid search. Texas Parks and Wildlife and DPS, or the Texas Department of Public Safety, provided a heat-seeking helicopter. They joined in the search.
However, members of the community were not allowed to participate in searches. It was reported at this time that landowners requested only law enforcement search their land.
January 15th, 2019. Ruth McGaughey, her friend, said, "We're just praying for her. I just couldn't understand what was going on. I'm just hoping she's found."
Ruth said she talked with Lauren a couple of days before she was last seen. "We want her home. Her babies need her. Her parents need her. Her family needs her."
"When I see her, I'm going to hug her and never let her go," Shahida Martin, another friend, said.
A couple of days before her disappearance, Elizabeth felt something was off. She just didn't know what to do. She was just worried. I could see it all over her. She just wasn't okay. Something was up with her.
Both friends say she has a history of mental illness and that she's made calls before to the police, scared that someone was after her.
However, in this situation, they believe she didn't plan her escape. She didn't say anything about going anywhere. She didn't come up with a plan of no kind, Elizabeth said.
In an effort to spread the word, Shahida created flyers, organized search parties, and contacted whoever she could who may have a missing piece to this puzzle.
January 16, 2019, a Wednesday, a vigil was held in Palestine at Reagan Park at 6:30 p.m.
January 17th, a week after her disappearance. Teachers and classmates gathered in Palestine by candlelight Thursday night to pray for the safe return of Lauren.
Lauren's friends and old teachers told memorable stories about the good old days. They believe that Lauren will return home safe because she always been a good fighter.
Thompson's teacher, Donna Parnett, said, "I know that she is okay. She is going to come back. She has been through some hard times, like we all have. She's had some hard times for such a young person, and she has fought her way out, and I believe, whatever this is, she can work her way out of this one."
Another candlelight prayer vigil was held at the Footprints in the Sand Memorial in Carthage that same night at 7 p.m. It was held at the intersection of the Loop and Dixie Lake Road.
January 18th, 2019. That week, grid searches continued spanning out from the vehicle location. More canine teams were also brought in.
The sheriff said, "We have interviewed people she was with that day and got their story. Matter of fact, interviewed them more than once. We're looking to find a clue that may turn us in another direction." He said his top priority is resolution for the Thompsons' family.
"We're very open with the family. We're telling them everything we're doing. If she is out there and can hear this report, there's a lot of people that care for you, Lauren."
January 22, 2019, 12 days after her disappearance, Panola County Sheriff Kevin Lake said he remains hopeful that Lauren will be found, but so far there's been nothing new that's turned us in a different direction.
Sheriff Lake said an active multi-department air and ground search of the area where Thompson's car was found had ended.
He continued, We've pretty well covered that area. If she's past there, it's just kind of hard to determine where she would be. We're a little bit handicapped because the river is over its banks as well. These areas out there we can't search.
At this point, Lake said, his office is following up on information and tips it receives, keeping in touch with the Thompsons' family, and getting search warrants for cell phones and social media records to further their investigation.
That just takes a little time because we have to go through the court as well as to get warrants for that information. We've done that, and those have been submitted, and that's really what we're working on right now, and continuing to talk to people that knew her and take statements.
February 27th, 2019. The family posted a $5,000 reward for information leading to Lauren's discovery. They say it's not much, but they want to make sure no one forgets about their little girl.
And here's her dad about the reward.
We offered a modest reward, thinking, well, maybe that would prompt someone to come forward if they had any information.
Officials asked citizens to refrain from assisting with search parties at this time.
March 3rd, 2019, nearly 2 months out, Lauren Thompson's father said, "She's either being held against her will or she's not with us any longer."
The not knowing is the worst part for the Thompsons' friends.